Hi, this is Eva for Once Upon a Timeline. Hopefully you guys are hearing me. All right, let's see who's on. I guess I can just look on the regular one. QP was first. What if I told you? Shari D, Sharon Gray, Bill M.E. Not too many people. Kyokuk Monty, Data Junkie, Adam Nichols, Ronnie Lewis. I think that's everybody. QP's back again. I think I cursed myself. I am like about 6 minutes late this time. Shark Takon Na is in. Ghosty 333, PG 2424. Yep, last time I was bragging about not being late, so I guess that cursed me to be late this time. And I had a little bit of problems with the backup computer. See what it says my stream looks like. Stream is good. Okay, so I got some good ones and some kind of minor ones. I'm not super raging insane with the MEs, but it seems like it's picked up a little, mostly because I've just seen some changes in the city, just little things. For a while, it seemed like everything was kind of static, but I don't know if you guys have noticed, but one thing I've really noticed is, there's certain streets that I used to drive along often, and for various reasons, maybe there was a restaurant I used to eat at, or I used to work down there, or whatever, and then I didn't go back for a while, and then I go back, and it's weird because I'll come up to the intersection. It's hard to describe it. It's just when you sit at the light and wait, you're used to seeing certain view. There's certain houses you could see. There's certain bushes. There's certain distance. And that all changes now. And it used to be, you'd come up to an intersection and you just glance and you'd know where you were. But now it's not unusual for me to suddenly get confused because the intersection looks different. Some intersections that used to be really curvy and you couldn't see much now are straight. You can see way down the street. Other ones that used to be straight are now curvy. There have been some more concrete changes in that certain connections between streets have changed. So, there's streets that I used to I just drive straight down the street and I'll get there. And that doesn't work anymore because now the street moves over and it doesn't lead to that spot and you have to make another turn. But there's just been a lot of that lately. And I've noticed a few things. The angles of buildings have changed, things like that. So I don't know. That's one of the things I kind of use when I'm trying to determine if there's been a lot of ME activity. The heck, all this junk's popping up on my computer. Okay, so anyways, this is one of the smaller ones, and this is actually one I'm not really sure of, but I just thought it was interesting. I was not a big expert on Back to the Future, so this one's by Bob Robertson. He does not remember Doc Brown ever having a stupid-looking little pistol in Back to the Future 2. I actually don't either, but I'm just not enough of an expert on this movie to really know, but I'm just going to play a little clip here. See if you remember this part. I have killed the sound, and I'm just going to play a tiny clip because I'm worried about copyright infringement. But okay, so here he has this little stinky gun. It doesn't work. And then when he gets shot at, he's going to apparently think about this gun. Now he's going to pitch it. I just don't remember that part. I don't know about you guys, but I just wanted to bring that one up. There's been so many changes in Back to the Future, too, so. All right, this is another one. What do you guys talk about? Hiccups? My grandma had a hiccup treatment and it always worked, but you needed two people. You had to close your nose and you had to close your ears And then you had to drink water. And it always worked. You might want to try it. I don't know. I haven't had hiccups in eons, actually, so. All right, so we got one person remembers the gun. One person doesn't remember the gun. That's interesting. All right, now this one, I first started hearing about this candiru. It's like a little fish that might swim up the man's important man parts when he's peeing in the river or swimming in the river. And at first it was just a kind of a rumor thing, and there was no evidence of it. But apparently now the thing has been identified, and it has been positively found in some poor guy's bladder after swimming up. And so it's real. And this is the little thing. This is river monsters, fish swims up man's urine stream. This is the little beast. And apparently it was found in this guy's bladder. There's video on here of an endoscope in the guy's bladder showing this little thing. Let's see. Somewhere I have 152 is another one. I don't want to play too much again because of copyright issues. It's very easy to get a strike. Here is some of them. Apparently they live in the gills of fish as a parasite, but they could swim up your, you know what, if you go peeing. So candiru, candiru. Now I swear there was a different name for these originally. It was really close to candiru, but it wasn't that. But I can't quite remember it. So there's some of them taken out of the gills of a fish. Something to consider if you're out in the tropics. I think there's enough things out there that I wouldn't ever want to go in the water now. Odin loves the topic, I see. Anyway, I just heard about those about 4 or 5 years ago. At the time, it was just rumor. And now, of course, it's real. All right, this is another one from Bob. Less disgusting. You'll be happy to know. There are pyramids everywhere now. And now there's also some in Ecuador. Cochasqui pyramids of Cochasqui. They're a little smallish right now. I'm betting that they'll get bigger. Let's see if I can find some images of them. They're kind of like those Mexican ones. They're flat on the top. I think that's one of them. And there's like a whole complex of them, but they're not super huge. Not yet. I think we're going to see more of these like we do in many places. I've seen a lot of these kind of things show up like this and then just get more and more excavated and bigger. So I think these are really in the beginning stages of development. Basically, there's pyramids everywhere now. And I remember all the talk about how there was only the pyramids in Mexico and the pyramids in Egypt. That was it. We've got them in China and all over the place now. So they used to say it was super suspicious that both Egypt and Mexico had them. And that was the only talk. They didn't talk about pyramids all over the world. There was just those two. So I'm really suspicious of that. All right. And that was from Bob Bobertson again. Bob also mentioned that candiru fish. I have kind of thought about that one, but I didn't realize they had video of it now, like actually in the bladder. So it's completely in this reality now. Okay, this is one from me, and I think it's an older one. This is interesting because a friend of mine who's a machinist and does a lot of machine stuff actually said this one wrong recently, and it reminded me that I remember this as Porter Gable, this company that makes tools and stuff. Porter Gable for me, not cable. This was a G. My friend just called it Porter Gable, And I remembered it as portrait Gable, and then I looked it up, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's Cable now. So that's an Emmy for me, and I've seen other people say it, but... Also, the pyramids in Egypt have capstones, which legends said would return in the Antichrist era. You know, the thing is, like, that legend that they would return in the Antichrist era was not in my era. So it came with the capstones. So I don't know. Even capstones would return. Actually, I've never even heard that one. Is symbolic of 3 Trinity of Antichrist. Okay, so the Giza, it's the Great Pyramid. Oh, so it doesn't have a capstone right now? I thought all 3 of them had a capstone last I checked. Lots and lots of new legends kind of developing. All right, that sucker, all of them had capstones last I checked. So one doesn't, and then when it comes back, it's going to be... Oh, what? Only one has one now? Oh... God, that one's, it's always changing. Look at that. Only one has one? All right. No. There was damaged ones on these other ones. All 3 of them had it. Some were more damaged than others. This doesn't look damaged at all now. I guess it's damaged on the bottom. Also, this capstone is a lot bigger than any I've seen thus far. A new study reveals the Great Pyramid isn't a perfect square. Interesting. Let's check that one out, too. All this time we didn't know it was a perfect square? Or are they talking about that fact that it's got the pinched-in sides? A minimal mistake, likely 7 centimeters, in a 5,000-year-old calculation. Was off by several centimeters. Now, isn't the Great Pyramid the one that's pinched in? So it wouldn't be a perfect square anyways. Let's see if the Great Pyramid still has 8 sides. Yep, looks like it still has 8 sides. How can they say it's not a perfect square because it's off by a few centimeters, but not mention that it has 8 sides? This is an older ME from a couple years ago, but apparently it's still the case. If anything, it looks a little bit more obvious now than when I have seen it before. Interesting. Looks, you can really see that line there. Anyways, okay, so it's just sort of weird. They have a whole article about it. It's not a perfect square, but they don't mention the sides. Just weird. Storylines are just weird. Bosnian pyramid was always Gable for me, Ronnie. Okay, good. I'm not crazy. Yeah, I'm sure it was Porter Gable, and I just always assumed it was the name. Okay, so we have Sudan pyramids, we have Bosnian pyramids. Let's see. I can't keep track of them all now. Ooh, look at the Nubian. I think we covered those Nubian pyramids, but I don't remember them being that high. So the Nubian pyramids, those are the Sudan ones. Nubia, Sudan. I thought I did mention those, but they're looking more substantial suddenly. I'm guessing that they've been repaired here, but I thought they were just crumbly piles before. That's interesting. Egypt isn't the country with the most pyramids. Sudan has approximately 255 of them. It's definitely getting hard to keep track. The last two kingdoms, Napata and Meroe, were heavily influenced by Egyptian culturally. Right, no photos there. Okay, so there's the Sudan ones. Bosnian pyramids. All right, the Bosnian ones, those are still to be determined as far as I'm concerned. Last I checked, basically there's a big bunch of burrowing, and he's found some large boulders, and he's calling them megaliths, but they just look like large boulders to me. There is some brickwork on the exterior of the mountain, but the interior is just dirt and boulders, so I've yet to see anything that proves that it is anything other than a giant mountain. But, I mean, the way the ME works, that could change, so. See, it's looking a lot more pyramidical than I remember it, too. It just didn't look quite that clear before. Yeah, see, it looks a little more obvious now. See if we have a more aerial view of it. Just shows from that one angle. Huh, interesting. Anyways, okay, what else we got here? For me, okay, so anyway, Bosnian pyramid is supposed to be fairly new, like he just discovered it. So I can't really say it's an ME. I do think that that mountain is looking more pyramidical, whatever you want to call it. The more times I look at it. I wonder if this will get any better. I can't really see much there. I was hoping to just see a better view of it. For me, Bill Clinton, for Y2K, tried to have one put on the main pyramid, plated in gold, but Egypt wouldn't let him, as he didn't have any. Oh, no, I've never heard that one. For me, none of the three had one. Originally, I agree with you, Data Junkie, none of them had one. And then for a while, they all, like 2 or 3 of them had them, then they had 3 of them. And then I was trying to remember which one had the broken, because like 2 of them had a good one and one had a broken one. I think it was the Great Pyramid that had the broken one. That's the last I checked. Actually, let me just look at those images one more time. All right. Let's see if it gets bigger here. And then right here, this is one that Unimundi pointed out. There's this weird line where it suddenly, like, there's a different level here or something. Now it even looks like there's one down here. But I don't know if they're going to say that this capstone came all the way down or what. But I don't know. It just, I don't know what to say. So anyway, yeah, it keeps changing. Now, for me, originally, none of them had any visible capstones. Then they started saying that there was a capstone, like a little poodly thing. I heard that about 10 years ago. That was believed to have once been on there, but was stolen. Then just like this last year, suddenly they're in museums now. No, they weren't. They were just a rumor for me originally. And even before that, nothing. So first they're a rumor, then they're in museums, then they're showing up on the pyramids. I don't know. Your head could just spin if you think about it too hard. Let's see. Pyramid capstones in museum. Let me show you. Let me make sure they're still in there. So, like, the capstone originally for me were these little, just little ones, but yet we also called those bigger ones that are on the, actually on the pyramid right now, we're also calling those the capstone. So here are some of the, oh yeah, they're calling it a pyramidion. That's right. So here are some of the pyramidions that are in museums. Capstone of the Great Pyramid of Giza. I've never seen, these just have kind of a modern look to them too. Especially like this one. It looks like something that would be in a video game now. It really does not look like the style I am accustomed to. You see, it's just very etched, all perfect and stuff. I don't recall ever seeing this downward wings thing before I recently. Under a winged sun disk are hieroglyphic texts offering the king access to the sun god. I've never seen this winged sun disk thing. Just it's kind of weird looking to me. The missing capstone. Why is the pyramid missing a capstone on its top? Okay, anyway, not too much info. But anyways, those are the capstones that are in the pyramids, or in the museums now. For me, the magnetic North Pole is starting the crazy shift now. You must have had to come to the timeline not to get killed. You know, the magnetic North Pole had been shifting for quite a many years for me. Last I checked, it was in Siberia, and that was a while ago. Now, recently, there was another kind of, there was magnetic North Pole, the real North Pole. Now, originally, they were just the same thing. As far as I knew, they never said anything about any differences. And then about 15 years ago, they started to say, oh, but they're not the same. Before that, it was always just left that the North Pole was the magnetic North Pole. But then suddenly they weren't the same and one was on the move. But I just noticed lately there's 3 of them now. It's just like today, yesterday. Versus compass. I'm trying to remember what the name of that was. There was a geographic North Pole, the magnetic North Pole, but there was a difference. Geomagnetic pole. Geomagnetic pole. This just showed, and you know, it used to just be the 2. The Earth is associated with a geomagnetic field that has a North Pole, South Pole, a magnetic compass, therefore approximately points towards the nose. However, the pointing direction is slightly different from the true north by an angle called declination. think I didn't really quite understand it earlier today either, so. All right, let's see if I can straighten this mess out here. North geomagnetic poles and north magnetic poles. Also, two pairs of poles can be defined for the geomagnetic field. The geomagnetic poles and the magnetic poles. The magnetic north corresponds to neither pole, since the geomagnetic field actually has a more complicated shape than a magnetic field generated by a bar magnet. Moreover, a magnetic needle is suspended at a center of balance, does not keep horizontal. As a rule, the North Pole dips downward by an angle called inclination in the northern hemisphere. All right. They've been kind of working on this for a while with the magnetic field just not being that simple and having all kinds of weird stuff about it. Let's see, we go. Geomagnetic North Pole here, magnetic North Pole there, and then right at the tippy tip would be the geographic North Pole. So if anybody can actually understand that better and explain it, that'd be nice. I don't really quite feel like I'm understanding what they're saying. The magnetic poles are the points at which magnetic needles become vertical. There's also a magnetic North Pole and a magnetic South Pole. The geomagnetic or magnetic south-north poles correspond to the north-south pole of a magnet. These poles are drifting according to slow and smooth change in the geomagnetic field called geomagnetic secular variation. I don't know. It's one of those things where they're not explaining it in any kind of way that I can understand it. Anyway, but let's just say that there's magnetic North Pole, geomagnetic North Pole, and geographic North Pole now. So that's one more than there used to be. Check out the volunteering page for the Bosnian Pyramid. All right, well, we'll give it a shot. Visit the Bosnian Pyramids. It looks like I've been here before. Uh-oh. Nope. Does not exist. Maybe this one will. International Summer Camp for Volunteers. I don't see any images or anything. I mean, not of... I don't know what you want me to see, but I don't think I found it. Do you recall the pyramids being surrounded by Cairo? Absolutely not. They were way out in the desert. Page different tab. I don't know what that means. I don't know what page different tab means. Right page different tab. All right, so it's Bosnian Pyramid. Where's the tab you want me to see? I mean, this is volunteers. Latest tab. World donations, local, how to get there. I don't see any latest. Calendar, stone balls, documents. Oh, there we go. Latest. So, what's on here? I mean, I don't see. You can't just play these because you'll get copyright infringement. Easter Island heads have great bodies. Well, this thing is certainly shopping around the MEs, isn't it? The Bosnian pyramid thing is connected to the huge stone spheres they found near the site. I don't know, you find large rounded rocks everywhere. It's not that weird. Plus, you don't know if they're round if you haven't seen the other side of it. Anyway, you know, maybe they will find more, but I mean, that's not a perfectly round rock, first of all. That one you can't tell unless you get underneath it. That is not from there. All right, let's see. Is this archaeological park of stone balls is not the Bosnian pyramid. So I think I still need to see more evidence, and it may show. It may well show, but right now, a few kind of rounded rocks. I mean, nature makes weird rock shapes, especially in this ME era. They're showing up all over. It is not drifting slowly, is majorly screwed up. That's why they keep thinking the pulse switch or reversal is going to happen. You know, they were saying that like 15 years ago when the magnetic North Pole went over to Siberia. And, oh, it's moving so fast and there's going to be a pole shift. And so I'm not worrying about it at this point. Bad weather blamed on El Nino and climate change. History changes have been blamed on whitewashing and bad teachers. And bad schools. There's like these excuses that are kind of, any lighting changes are being blamed on light pollution. They've got these kind of blanket excuses that they're kind of using to cover over a lot of the MEs. Also, atmosphere changes being blamed on chemtrails. I'm really suspicious about that. I'm not buying that chemtrails are responsible for all the atmospheric changes, personally. I think chemtrails may be an ME. I don't think they caused all these things that are ME-like, though. The tunnels show that it is a pyramid. But see, all I see is somebody tunneling like a mine. I don't see any shafts. There's no... He's tunneled a hole into the mountain, and he has found large boulders, but they're his tunnels. There's no walls built by ancients or anything like that. That's why the Bosnian thing, I don't buy it. He did find some stone pavers on top of the mountain. They're not making up the whole structure of the mountain. They're just plunked on top in one spot. And he's tunneled into there, and it's his tunnels. All the tunnels are made by him. If you tunnel into a mountain, you may find large boulders. So, I mean, I'm open to him finding more stuff, but right now, I just don't see anything. It's weird because everybody's looking at this pyramid, and there's real pyramids showing up all over the place. And everybody's looking at this Bosnian one. I don't know. Meanwhile, over in Nubia, there's 250-something or other suddenly pyramids that are brick and mortar pyramids that you can see really clearly. So, I don't know. I'm sure it's all related somehow. Tobacco has properties that block mind control. All right, what's going on now? Releases dopamine. I'm not really seeing anything about it. For me, when the pole was in the Atlantic, it was going 60 miles per year, not 20 like here, so I'm not as concerned. Dang, you know, I don't remember the speed exactly, unfortunately. I just remember, oh, it's going so fast. It's going faster every year. What's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. And that was like 10 years ago. So now I'm like, whatever. I don't. There's just so many things have changed from the ME that it's just impossible for me to worry about this stuff anymore. I don't smoke, but many ME affected people smoke. I've never smoked cigarettes, so not me. It grounds me, blah, blah, blah. Well, if it's good for you, you know, my dad's whole side all died of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease and emphysema caused by cigarette smoking. That would be 3 out of 4 of them died from that, including my father. And the 4th one died from lung cancer, probably brought on by cigarette smoking. So it's not a good idea. You know, my family has kind of a weakness in the lung department, and there's no freaking way I'm going to risk that. And I used to have asthma a lot too, so no. I don't care how good it makes me feel. I'm not going down that road personally. El Nino was the cool phase. La Nina was... wait. La Nina was the cool phase. Yeah, El Nino was the hot phase. I think we still have those. Although you hear a lot less about them. Years forecast. The last time we were supposed to get an El Nino, and we were going to get these epic deluge, and California was going to float away in the horrible, monstrous rains of the biggest El Nino ever recorded, and at least in the ocean part, you know, and we got like normal rains that year, so I just don't worry about it too much. El Nino and La Nina are the warm and cool phases of a recurring climate pattern, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, 15 years ago, have you ever heard of El Nino, La Nina? It's just been the last 10 years, suddenly it's a thing. Anyways, yeah, the last one was a giant dud, so. Talking about tinnitus, louder away from the computer, and it starts when I began to take meditation. Yeah, I get a lot of that. I don't know, tinnitus, I just kind of ignore it though. Sometimes it's really loud and I just don't listen. All right, where are we here? Porter Gable, pyramids, fish. All right. All right, this one's a weird one I found on Reddit. See if I've got everybody. Okay, so Back to the Future one was Bob Robertson. Pyramids was Bob Robertson. Pyramids of Cochasqui. And that fish one, that was kind of his section there. Light poles. This was an extra weird one. Actually, I should make it so you can hear it. Let me change this out so you can hear. Okay, so I mean, I can't prove this is an ME, but there's just so much weird weather stuff now. So apparently, just by being cold, or there's something about how the wind is blowing, it'll cause the middle of this to move, but not the top and bottom, which I find really weird. I think the wind has been weird. So the story here, the wind, someone is saying the wind goes around and sticks a little to the pole, alternating sides. This only happens when it has just the right speed. So the alternating has roughly the same frequency. So what the wind's going like this, it's a pole. So wind has to have the same frequency as the pole's eigenfrequency or natural frequency, which is the frequency which the object will shake, along with vibration. Anyway, I'm really suspicious of this one, but here it is. Or if you could, let me see. So see, it's moving here in the middle, but the top and bottom stay the same. You can hear it clicking away. I'll play it some more. I don't even see any wind blowing here. Nothing's getting kicked up or anything. That's another thing that's weird about it. Nothing else is moving. I mean, wouldn't you just kind of flip out if that just was wiggling like that? I think I would be a little concerned. Doesn't Eva live in California? Why is she wearing a jacket? Is she sick? It's cold. Yes, I live in California, but it does get cold, and I am way too cheap to try to heat this house. I've got a cathedral ceiling. I don't want to spend $400 or $500 a month heating the house. So, Shari D, why is that thing shaking? Yeah, I know. I tried to explain it, but basically, someone is claiming that wind is alternating on each side in a rhythmic motion, and it just, that alternating wind just happens to be the exact frequency of this pole. And then he likens it to the famous Tacoma Narrows bridge collapse. But I don't know. It seems like baloney to me, but so yeah, anyway, it's cold, but it's been, what's the San Diego Weather Underground. We just had a storm go through. This year has actually been cold. I think I was kvetching last year that it wasn't very cold. It was weirdly warm. All right, it's low tonight, 44. And my house just kind of collects the nice coldness too, which is nice in the summer, but it sure as heck is not that nice. It's been down to 44. It's probably lower than... I'm kind of inland, so it's probably lower than this. This is kind of near the ocean. Yeah, see, that's over here. I'm more inland. So it's going to be about 40 outside right now, and my house is freaking 40. So it's cold. And that is why I have a jacket on. I'm cold, and I'm not running the heater. But no, I'm not sick, but thank you for asking. Yeah, I don't know. See, the joke here is it's so cold the poles were shivering, but that's just the title that somebody came up with. Then in comments, people are saying that it has to do with the winds, not the actual cold. So, I mean, I don't know. harmonic vibration. I think this is going to be something about the Tacoma Narrows. I read through some of this before, but the explanation I gave you just now is about as good as it gets. Let's see. What type of vibrations do you encounter with light poles? Oh, I didn't read this one. One of two movements with light poles, first mode or second mode vibrations. First mode occurs at the top of the pole with low frequencies that cause little harm to the pole. Second mode occurs near the middle of the pole with high frequencies and is usually caused by wind vortex. This disturbance can cause harm to the structure of the pole. Okay, so it's caused by a wind vortex. This is the normal one that I'm sure we've all seen. I have never seen a wind... Well, I've never seen it wiggle in the middle like that. That's for sure. How do I know if a light pole is experiencing second mode vibration? Ticking noises, audible humming, missing screws, premature failure. Video of harmonic vibration. Let's click on that. I saw some places they were actually putting the spiral up the pole. Okay, here's another one. Sure if there's any sound associated with that one. All right, so there's another one. Anyway, I've never heard of that. I think it's pretty suspicious. I've studied the Tacoma Narrows thing. I've just never heard of this. The wind vortex. Actually, we should probably just look what the heck a wind vortex is. Just for fun. Vortex bladelet. How's your vortex wind? I mean, I know a vortex is like a spiral, but yep, it's not that easy to find. You have to dig. Harmonic vibration pole. What do you think of Starfire Tor? You know, I just, it's probably better if I just don't even comment on that one. The spiral light that was over Europe that everyone filmed they think might have been a test project Bluebeam. Who the heck even knows? There's so many weird things in this timeline. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if all that stuff's just there to get us to open up our minds a little bit. Think about other things being possible. I don't know. I really don't know. I hate orange juice, but I need to drink it now. I think I missed something in these conversations. All right, so anyway, that's that weird thing. Okay. That one was kind of cool. This is back to another creepy crawly, because you know I have to have creepy crawlies. Swedish. All right, so this cute little bee thing, a bumblebee-like fly hovering in front of your face, could be an elk bot fly preparing to shoot larvae into your eyes. That's the little guy there. It looks like a bee. Apparently, this woman got by larvae injected into her eggs, 30 eggs injected into her eye by the insect. So they just shoot it. They don't even land on you or anything. They throw them through the air. They shoot them through the air. So supposedly they're aiming for the mucous membranes in the nose of deer, but sometimes they'll shoot people and it'll get in your eye. Up until recently, the insect was only found in elks, but has now been detected as far south as Jönköping in Småland, south of Stockholm. A full-grown insect measures around 2 centimeters. So it's pretty big, 2 centimeters. 1, 2. Yeah, that's actually a decent size. This is usually elks or deer, but sometimes she will mistake human eyes for elk nostrils. Yes, because human eyes look just like elk nostrils. A pregnant female shoots her already hatched larva into the host animal's nostrils. The larvae travel into the nose where they feed on mucus. From there, the larvae wriggle down into the throat where they reach their third stage of development. When they reach 4 centimeters, their movements tickle the nose. 4 centimeters? That's big. And causes them to sneeze them out with mucus. And it's all gross. Anyways, so this woman got a bunch in her eyes. And she felt creeping larvae. And she had to get them removed with the doctor's help. And he missed some at first, but then he got them later. If they are not removed, they will attach themselves to the cornea and the eyelid. If one was to penetrate into the eye, the damage could be extensive. All right, so that's just creepy. This whole botfly thing, I just heard about that maybe 4 years ago. And at first they were just like in Africa. And then you would hear about people who went to Africa and came back here and had botfly infections. But now, botflies are everywhere and they live here now. They're not just in Africa. They live all over the place. Botflies. Let's just see how. So, the botflies are taking over and it's creepy. Your insects, like your pets, could get botflies. The human botfly. Looks like a bumblebee. I'm really curious about the human botfly. I was not aware of any ones targeting humans. Common name, human botfly. Looks like a bumblebee. Native to Central and South America. Ugh, human botfly now, huh? Anyway, people get them in the United States now. They are local. Warble bees, gadflies. Deer botflies. Ugh. All right, there's so many of them. They're not really giving the locations, but let's just say they're everywhere now. Gross. Super gross. Yeah, I think just about everybody has botflies now. Crazy world of normal Helen is in. No. KSP Crafter does not want any spiders. I don't think I have any spiders. You just got the larva shooting botflies today. They're actually kind of cute little bugs. They just look like honeybees. If they weren't shooting larvae in your eye, it wouldn't be that bad. Squirrels would get boils, then larvae. I was always scared of them. Yeah, I don't know. They were far away from here. That's all I have to say. I thought it was Africa, though. And then you would just hear about people coming back from Africa that got them. Yeah, they're not tiny anymore. The larvae are big, stinky, juicy, gross, icky things. Was the whale shark in my old timeline? No. There's a whole bunch of sharks. I mean, sharks just look like sharks. There's all the snaggle teeth sharks and none of those. I didn't have any of those. The sharks were boring things compared to what we got now. Okay. All right. We're getting a lot of these weird goats that look like humans. This is another one. No word on this one lived or not, but lately I have seen some that did live. It used to be if they had that bad a mutation, they wouldn't live. but that's a face of a goat. I can't really tell here if this is alive or not. I mean, he's just sort of slightly holding it by the ear. He doesn't look like he's holding up all the weight. So I'm thinking that this thing is probably not dead, is my guess. So very human-looking face. Just creepy. I don't know. There's just so many of these now. So many. Even the way the hair is kind of human. You're out of focus, and I don't drink, so it's not me. Oh, let me see. What do we got here? I don't know, dude. I look okay in the cam. Let's see what I look like over here. Which one? I can't remember which one I'm supposed to click on, actually. View on watch page. I don't know. It looks all right. I mean, I don't have the world's best cam, so it's not really good quality. That might be part of the problem. But it's the same. It should be the same crap quality as always. That's all I have to say. If I look worse than normal, I don't know, because it looks about the same to me. Dick Diamonds is in. Data Junkie. Somebody said something about YouTube. I just had to manually up the resolution in settings because YouTube downgraded it. Oh, okay. It could be that if you are getting really slow signal, YouTube will automatically change the resolution on you. So that could be it. Like if your ISP connection is lagging. All right, so creepy goat face. All right, this one is more cool again. I've covered this before, but it's getting more extreme. Check this one out. It used to just be a little bit of color variation. Now it's a lot. Wait, this is not the one. Here we go. See if it'll load for me. Look at the color variation now. It's two different bodies of water. Now, supposedly, this is like an influx of a bunch of river water. But what's weird is they don't mix. Now, I've seen these videos before, but there wasn't nearly that much variation in color as before. Every time I look at that, it's different. It's really extreme in that one. Anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Has anybody done any tests with Geiger counter regarding shifts in background radiation? Yeah, no, I don't have a Geiger counter. Might be fun to get. I wonder if they're a gajillion dollars. The whole screen is out of focus, not just Eva. Yeah, see if you can change your settings on your YouTube. I think just underneath the video screen where you see the images, there's some settings there, and you might be able to change that. But if it downgraded you to a poor setting, it might be because your ISP is not getting very quick streaming. So it does that automatically. It's trying to pick a setting so that you won't have buffering, basically. So if you make the setting more data intensive, you may get buffering. Of course, you can always just see it, try it and see it, and then you can always back off if there's a problem. There are Geiger counter apps. You just put aluminum foil over your phone's lens. Are you serious? I'm going to have to check that in. Geiger counter apps. Huh. Geiger counter apps. Huh. I'm going to check that out. Pocket Geiger counter light. Your Android phone can double duty as a Geiger counter. All right, this one, it's not getting very good ratings though. Let's see what they have to say. It does nothing but give error messages. This app works, but you need to hook it up to a real Geiger counter in order for it to work. You need to connect a pocket Geiger counter. Nice reading skills, though. That could be something that would be fun to have. All right, maybe $100 for an okay one, looks like. Best lab Geiger counters. $88 gets 4 stars, not too bad. How much money do you want to spend? .360p is the highest resolution here, and I have a 1 gigabyte connection with the internet. Ooh, it's so complicated now because apparently different ISPs can throttle your access to different locations according to their latest wranglings with other ISPs. And so even if you have a really good connection from the ISP to your phone, you may still have really bad signal to something like YouTube. It's super complicated, so you might want to check that out. Why do scientists not question those new weird things? Are their memory wiped or something? Yeah, I've wondered about that. Here's the thing. I mean, how many scientists do you know? And these people are on the internet. Do they even exist? Are they real? Is it just a story that is shown up on the internet? I have no idea if these people even exist or not. So there could be that 99% of scientists are just part of the story. You talk to people around you. I mean, if you can, I think definitely though there's people who totally remember the new timeline. So, I mean, it could be. I don't know. I don't know half the time. It's hard to believe it's even real, most of it nowadays. Q Cook Bonnie, gotta go. Thanks for coming. I'm in the Netherlands, so the ISP is forbidden to throttle. Yes, but doesn't YouTube have to get from me to you? And they can throttle in between there. So your ISP may not throttle, but this is not originating in the Netherlands. So that's why it's complicated. And if it gets throttled on the main channels, it can take a side route, but then it takes a lot longer distance. It might have to bounce around. Maybe they don't have very good transmission rates, and so then it gets slow. There are doctors and nurses affected. Yep. Well, we've had nurses on. There's been quite a number of interviews of nurses. I know there's a few on YouTube. There's been a few that have come onto Redcon. I have not heard anything from doctors other than we're all stupid, crazy people. At least they claim to be doctors. Who knows? All right, so here we go. Two Oceans Meet. I'm not sure if we covered this one before, but there's some new bits to it. Oops. On Bush. That's not the one I wanted. I think this is the one I wanted. All right, so how many of you remember George Bush assassination attempt in 2006? I mean, I certainly remember them throwing shoes at him, his amazing shoe dodging abilities, and that little smirk on his face when that dude threw those shoes. But I don't remember anything about anybody throwing a hand grenade at him. Not a live hand grenade in 2006. Threw towards his podium. So apparently it did not go off because it was wrapped in a handkerchief thingy, which was the story. It was that it gummed up it made it stick. I can't remember what the story is about how that handkerchief made it stick. Then another weird part. Now I saw this maybe a few months ago, and it might have even been somebody in the comments that brought it up, and I can't remember if I covered it. This is the kind of thing that Bob Bobertson would probably find, but I'm not sure if it was him. What I don't remember is this second part. Bizarre scenes at the trial. It was Vladimir Arutinian who did this. He showed up in court with his mouth sewn shut. I have not read that before. I don't know what to make of it. But, I mean, you would think that you would remember if a live hand grenade was thrown at Bush and he was lucky enough for it not to go off. I mean, just that alone, people would be saying, oh, it was protection from God or something. I mean, what is the chances that you get a live hand grenade thrown at you and then it doesn't go off? And then the perpetrator shows up in court with his mouth sewn shut. I mean, who's not going to remember that? That's weirder than someone lobbing a shoe at him. It's even weirder than him passing out, conking his head, and claiming that he choked on a pretzel that triggered his vagus nerve. Okay, well, there's a lot of weird stuff about Bush, but come on. Anyways, I never heard of it. It's really weird. Really weird. Okay, so this was mentioned by somebody on Retcon named Prevengeance. Anyway, so good find. Yeah, and I guess it's also being covered by alternatememories.com, which seems to be like a pro-ME thing. February 3, 2019, Simon Magnuson, I guess. Good finds, dudes. Good stuff. Very interesting. Georgian police detain suspect in grenade incident. This is just weird. Weird. I'm for the pro shoe anti-kill attempt timeline. Yeah, the shoes still happened. I checked that. I didn't check on the vagus nerve passing out head bonking thing, but it seems like weird stuff stays. So it's probably still there also. So the shoe was a different thing because this hand grenade thing, I think it was outside near the Russian president, and then the shoe thing was when he was inside, and there was no real danger on that one. So it was a separate incident. Seems to me the media would have made a huge deal out of it. Yes, of course it would have made a huge deal out of it. I mean, come on. They throw a live hand grenade and it doesn't go off, and then the guy shows up with his mouth sewn shut? That's ridiculous. No, he didn't catch it. What was the story? I'll find that again. That was alternate memory story, but it's interesting because the person who posted it said it was 2005, but then I looked it up and it was 2006. All right, let's see. Oh, see, now over here it's 2005 again. Or maybe it's in flux. President Bush was giving a speech in Freedom Square in Tbilisi, Georgia. This guy named Vladimir Arutunian threw a live Soviet-made RGD-5 hand grenade towards the podium. The grenade was live and had its pin pulled, but did not explode because a red tartan handkerchief was wrapped tightly around it, preventing the safety lever from detaching. After escaping that day, Arutunian was arrested in July 2005. During his arrest, he killed an Interior Ministry agent. He was convicted in January 2006 and given a life sentence. Anyway, so now I do remember occasionally people standing outside the perimeter fence and pot shots fired towards the White House. That does sound familiar, and I think it's happened more than once. But this grenade thing, no, never heard of it. You know, there's hardly any even info on it, too. I mean, this is a tiny little thing. A grenade was thrown. I mean, this is a good question. Who got the grenade and how did he escape? And it says he escaped. How did he escape? He just snuck off? What? I don't know. Weird. Let's see if there's any other info on this thing now. Vladimir. All right, it hit a girl. The grenade failed to detonate. Although original reports indicated the grenade was not live, it was later revealed that it was live. After Arutunian pulled the pin and threw the grenade, it hit a girl, cushioning its impact. The red handkerchief remained wrapped around the grenade, and it prevented the striker lever from releasing. A Georgian security guard quickly removed the grenade, and Arutunian disappeared. Arutunian later explained that he threw the grenade towards the head so that the shrapnel would fly behind the bulletproof glass. Bush and Cochasqui did not learn of the incident until after the rally. So somebody threw something, hit a girl, and but they didn't even know about it. I don't know. If I was the president, I think I would have wanted to know. DNA test results on the claws found it matched Rutunians. I don't know. Okay, I could read that all day, but... I hope someday there will be a real investigation of 9/11. You know what? 9/11 changes for me constantly, so I don't know what they'd investigate, because it would be... I mean, if that person was shifting with me, then they would go insane from the constantly changing stuff. I mean, there was only 3 buildings went down in my timeline. How many went down here? Like 6 or 7 or something. I'd go crazy. I don't know. Emmy, 9/11 is another one. I just can't take it seriously anymore. I don't know. Did it happen in every timeline and just different buildings fall down? Is it changing? The story gets weirder and weirder on 9/11. All right, so anyways. All right, this one is from JAC, or JAC, a commenter on the channel. I have not heard of these before. Now, we've had before the weird noises that the frozen lake can make. I guess also lately they've been saying that the lakes can make booming noises due to the frost and stuff. That just wasn't in my old timeline. It didn't happen. I've only started hearing about that in the last 2 years. But apparently we have this thing called frost quakes. A cryoseism, also known as an ice quake or frost quake, is a seismic event that may be caused by a sudden cracking action in frozen soil or rock saturated with water or ice. As water drains into the ground, it may eventually freeze and expand under colder temperatures, putting stress on its surroundings. What are those loud booms? They are frost quakes. Let's see if you can still... Yes, I still have that on. So... there's going to be lots of loud booms and stuff by lakes and stuff now. If
it wants one thing, and nothing will stop it.
Let's turn off the boring stuff here. Blah, blah, blah. Where's I want to hear them. What the heck? All right, well, I guess he doesn't have any. Frost quakes, mysterious noises rattling central Indiana, January 15th. Frostquakes rattle Tennessee residents. Now, this is from 2015. So, I guess that's the latest excuse for weird booms and stuff. I think they were saying some stuff about this happening in the Great Lakes region due to this latest really cold situation that we've had on the East Coast here. Frostquakes, boom indeed. A frostquake describes the cracking of soil and rock that occurs. The cracking causes booming or banging sounds. This natural phenomena, called cryoseism, can happen when there is a sudden drop in temperature. I'm going to write that name down so I will remember it later. What was it again? I lost it on cryoseism. The spelling's a little weird too. Cryoseism. Okay, so there you go. New weird source of booms and stuff. Is it cold outside? Are you hearing loud booming sounds in the middle of the night? Don't call the Ghostbusters. It's probably just a frost quake. All right, yeah. See, we've been hearing a lot about the frost quakes with this polar vortex on the East Coast. Polar vortex, that whole term just showed up like a year ago, and now I guess we have polar vortexes every year. Frost quakes were reported throughout the affected regions. All right, so it follows a large temperature drop. I guess the water gets down in there, and then it suddenly freezes, and boom. I mean, it sounds like a good story. It just was not in my old timeline. Oh, you guys are getting started on the 9/11. Yeah. Oh, I should do a whole video on that. I could just yap on and on. But I don't know. Sometimes it just bugs me even reading about it. 3 buildings fell in my timeline. 3333. Oh, 9/11. Trouble about. You know, 9/11 is a massive ME for me. Almost everything in there. The angle of the plane, the way it hits, the footage, the way it falls, how many buildings it hits. I guess we've got these weird evidences of weird, like lasers and stuff affecting the buildings now. So many buildings were damaged. Buildings I've never even heard of were damaged. Oh, my. The whole thing, just look how it falls. It's just all different. It's just all different. What, Bill? Oh, Bill looked it up. It's 7 buildings. I couldn't remember. 7 buildings demolished. Yeah. It was always a big thing in my old timeline that 3 fell down. The way they fell was really weird. And that they fell without damaging any surrounding buildings was part of the argument for why it was controlled demolition. Because how could they fall without damaging the surrounding buildings? Well, in this timeline, they took out a whole bunch more buildings. And you've got this this conspiracy theory that's called dustification. Because they kind of turned to dust. You can actually see some of the big columns just kind of into dust here. Didn't happen in my old timeline. It was just straight down. Also, there's a giant missing piles of the debris here. Was not much. And so part of the conspiracy theory is that where did all the debris go? There wasn't enough debris. That wasn't part of my old conspiracy theory at all. There wasn't a debris issue. Also, in this timeline, were weird incidents with melted cars a couple blocks away. Let's see if I can get that one. Melted cars. 9/11. See, there it is. If I watch more, I'll probably find even more stuff. Rare footage, melted cars. So these cars were melted, and they weren't even that close to the and like this, the city, the rest of the buildings are okay. It's just weird. Okay, so you get all these like melted trash cars, but some of them were quite a distance off. Let me see if I can find that. Shoot, you know what? I'd have to really do some proper research to find the right links on that. But that was one thing. And there was also, is it a hurricane? Hurricane 9/11. Not 9/11, but 9/11 was a hurricane. There was a hurricane coming. The 9/11 hurricane that missed New York City. So, the thing is, in my old timeline, even the idea that a hurricane was heading towards New York would have been huge news. The fact that it was heading towards New York on 9/11 when the towers went down would have been like quadruple huge news. As the terrorist attacks of September 11th were unfolding in New York, Washington, D.C., a hurricane was spinning off the northeast coast. So it was heading straight towards New York. It wasn't even that far away. It would have done massive damage. Let's see, what was the size? Now I can't remember. I think it was like a Cat 2 or something. But see, New York just can't handle any hurricanes. Now, in my old timeline, they would say that, you know, historically, really long ago, it was possible that New York might get a hurricane, but it was highly unlikely. But I guess in this timeline, they had one really close on 9/11. And I just, like, so anyways, there you go. There was a hurricane off the coast of New York on 9/11. How many people remember that? Oh yeah, the Pentagon one. Don't get me started on the Pentagon. The plane that, or whatever the heck it was, that hit the Pentagon originally, for me, did not kill anybody, and it just left a hole. And I even remember seeing the images of it, and there was this hole in the Pentagon, and then all around was just green grass, just green grass. And one of the big arguments is, where did the wings of the plane go? Because there was no damage on the side of the building. There was like a hole, but the wings would have had to like hit into the building and then somehow all go in there, because there was no wings or debris on the outside. But that didn't happen in this timeline. That image is gone. You don't see a nice green grass image with a nice clean hole, because in this timeline, the upper levels collapsed also. The whole facade collapsed. A lot of people died. That did not happen in my timeline. Nobody died. In the Pentagon, that is. Okay, so that's another ME. That fact that the hole was bigger and the roof collapsed on the Pentagon and a bunch of people died. It was 100-something last I checked. And there was just a hole there. Yep. And the hurricane off the coast. Yep, there was no hurricane off the coast of New York on 9/11, the day that the plane struck. Ice quakes new for me. They were rebuilding that wing area. There was nobody there. Yep. They still, I guess, had just recently reinforced the area last I checked here. And so they said that prevented more damage from happening. I used to live in the New York mountains, had negative 47 degrees, no frost quakes. Well, now the polar vortex has made them. I have absolutely never heard of that before this year for the frost quakes. Now, I heard the last 6 months, maybe since last winter, there's been some mumblings about some lakes maybe making some weird noises a little bit in the winter. But it wasn't United States either. It was like way up in Canada, and you kind of got the impression that it was freaking freezing cold up there all the time anyway. I saw that picture of the green grass and a big cable coil, but the grass was not scorched. Yes, exactly. And it was just all so surreal. Later, it collapsed, that whole section. Yeah, nope, I can't find that green grass picture. And the thing with the green grass picture is there was no cars or anything there, because it was long after the hole was made. So, like, all the ambulances and everything were gone. But in this timeline, it collapsed pretty soon after the hole was made. So there's not going to be a time when there were no vehicles in front, because it hit and then all the vehicles showed up, and it just wouldn't have been all peaceful like that. Yep, the ceiling never collapsed in the old timeline. Agreed. At least not for mine. All right. This one is from Hayes Dolly on Retconned. She does not remember this spelling. And a lot of people don't remember the spelling. Girardelli chocolates, pronounced like Girardelli chocolates. Now, we had one on last week, was an extra R. I can't remember which one it was now, but apparently it's Girardelli Chocolate Company. Girardelli chocolates. Girardelli chocolates. The one last week was, I think, some kind of medical thing. I can't remember what exactly, but so it's Girardelli chocolate. A lot of people only remember it as Girardelli chocolate, not Girardelli chocolate. Well, I agree. There was no R in there. There's one R, not two R's. Girardelli now. So anyway, when people say, well, I hope they investigate 9/11, I'm like, that's not even my 9/11. I don't know. I believe 5G has something to do with it. I don't know. You know, when 4G came out, they said that all this weird crap's going to happen. I'm just wondering if 5G might be another excuse for weirdness. Just like the whitewashing of history excuse and the climate change excuse and the... I only remember rivers making noise when the ice broke in the spring. Well, that kind of makes sense. Yeah, when the ice is breaking up and slamming against itself, you know, yeah, I do remember some noise from that. I don't remember all the dumpster fires. For me, the rebuild debris was in the alley behind the outer ring of the Pentagon. Ooh, I'm not sure on that one. I don't remember any dumpster fires, though. Rivers even make weird sounds just skipping stones on them, Ghosty333. Yeah, I covered that one, that guy in Canada skipping the stone. It was a lake, and it was frozen. Yes, I thought that one was fishy. That was like the first one I saw. Does anybody remember Kennedy being governor of California? You know, I wasn't alive then, so. O'Reilly's changed to O'Reilly. That's an old ME for a lot of people. O'Reilly's. The other thing that after O'Reilly's changed to O'Reilly, let's see if I can say it right, parts. I was really looking at that. Where's images? How come I don't see images? Okay. After that change, I noticed this little clover in the O. That wasn't there for me originally. And when I first saw that clover, it was a tiny little thing. It's now like 3 times larger. It was really little. It's a big clover now. So that also is an ME. It used to be O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and it did not used to have a clover. Who says 4G hasn't caused problems? Yeah, I don't know. I just don't think 4G can... I tend to think that the ME is behind a lot of stuff, and I don't think 4G could have caused Australia to pick up and move over, and I don't think it made South America move east, and I don't think it made the moon come out in the day and change its orbit. So I tend to think that other weird stuff is probably also the ME. I tend to think that one thing is in charge of all that weird stuff. So it could be that whatever's behind the ME did some things, and 4G and 5G did other things, and who knows? But I tend to just think, and this is the way my brain works, that it's that this stuff is ME related. So that's just what I think. I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? Fire tornadoes popping up all over. Yep. Yeah, I've covered those before. Those are big fat ME for me anyways. Need inputs back. Welcome. Fruit Loops to Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops is one of the biggest flip-floppers in town for me. That thing has changed a number of times. If I had to vote on the biggest flippy-floppy, I would say it's Fruit Loops. Man, it's so jumpy. When you try to read the comments, it's like you're reading and then it goes... You can't find it. Coca-Cola has changed again. That was changed to a square long ago, is now upward and not in the center. We're talking about the dash. Let's see. Coca-Cola logo. Okay, this, if we're talking about the dash, that one has been brought up a fair lot. I may have covered this one before. I can't remember. I think I did. It was brought up on Retconned. I didn't find it myself. The other thing that I've really noticed in recent months is the C used to be more separate from the O. It's now like kind of mashed in there, so it doesn't seem like a separate C. The C used to be way out here and more C-like instead of looking like a little wave like that. And okay, this dash has been multiple places, but originally it was down here, and it didn't look like a tilted over. It didn't look like a tilted diamond before either. So way back, this did not used to go swooping through the L. Actually, way back for me, the coca was on the same level as the cola. This whole thing where it's jumped up like this is also an ME for me. So Coca-Cola is a big mess. Also, this little ribbon thing here is one of the newer MEs, but still not really new. So this one's still like months old for me, though, for me personally. Like I said, somebody else brought it up, so I don't take any credit for it. But one thing about being on Retconned is that I tend to hear about most MEs are kind of delivered on, somebody comes and makes a thread about them. So I learn about a lot of them just by being on there. So anyway, I don't know if need input, if that's what you were talking about, but that's all I see right now on it. I don't really see any super recent changes other than, like I said, the C looks a lot closer. The other thing I'm a little suspicious of are these kind of fancy little curls on the C's. I'm not sure on those. I'm not going to swear to it, though. Have I looked into the mud flood? I think the whole mud flood thing, the 2 stories, like 1 story hidden under dirt, that's all like brand new. So, I don't know. I mean, suddenly there's all this evidence for the mud flood. Even look up unknown animal found in kitchen from Australia. Ooh, gotta look at unknown animals. Unknown animal found in kitchen from Australia. Baby rat creature. Let's see. Daily Mail. It's probably not the... I get the impression that these are not the most reliable people. Let's check it out. Hopefully I don't get a copyright strike from this. Let's kill the sound. I don't think we're going to get this thing to load. All right, no, I don't see any loading happening here. Nothing. All right, let's see. Daily Mail won't load. Baby rat aliens. This video will start. Ugh. 3 seconds. It hasn't started yet. All right, let's see if we can get this to load. Gross little things. I mean, is it real? Those all look like they're dead. And that one's like wiggling. Huh. I don't know. My mother found these on the kitchen floor this morning. One is still alive. I mean, they like malformed baby rats. Deformed baby mice.
Es el océano.
Huh. CGI, I don't know. Australian
Esta es la naturaleza.
Sound. Found something similar, and they were hoverfly larvae. Oh, those rat-tailed maggots. I think I covered those rat-tailed maggots before. Rat-tailed maggots. Those are so gross. Although I don't think that those are that it's the same thing. Rat-tailed maggots. Because those ones that we just saw were furry. All right, these are rat-tailed maggots here. I covered those before. Gross, but those are different. You had to have something. I'm blaming it on the chit chat this time. I'm blaming it on Ghosty 333 that we have rat-tailed maggots up. What's Outer Mongolia? Outer Mongolia. Mongolia died out 1,000 years ago. For me, it was part of China. I agree with Shari D. Mongolia was still there. China had control of it. There was a lot of chit-chat about how China was, trying to destroy their native culture and make them more Chinese and not Mongolian, that kind of thing. But it was not its own country. Yes, there were Mongolians, but they were in it, just like a section of China. China had control of Mongolia during my life and from before that, but I don't remember when they actually had gotten hold of Mongolia. So it's its own country now. Mongolia sounds familiar. Well, it's its own country in this timeline, so it should, but it still was a part of China for me. Never heard of Outer Mongolia. Let's see. Outer. I think in this timeline there's a bunch of Mongolians in Russia and stuff too. And what's his name that founded Mongolia? He was a lot more successful in this timeline. Roughly equivalent to the modern state of Mongolia, which is called North Mongolia in China today, plus the Russian Republic of Tuva. Huh. All right, so Mongolia was bigger back then, basically, and that was Outer Mongolia, I guess, is the story. But, yeah, Mongolia is more successful in this timeline. It was bigger, and it was able to maintain its own country status, and China doesn't have it. Mongolia didn't exist in my timeline because the Huns were defeated. Huh. Could be. I don't know. I mean, in my timeline, it wasn't a country. The region still existed. Ah, okay. Got to get to this one for sure. This one was brought up by a user on Redcon called Spelt Backwards, and he asked if any of us have ever heard of this Sealand Skull. I've never heard of it. It might be fake, but I just can't get enough info on it. It's supposed to have been around for a number of years, which I find very suspicious by itself, because I've been looking into the skull changes and all the weird skulls, and I did not find this last year. A mysterious skull with huge eye sockets and fang teeth that has left scientists flummoxed. May have belonged to an alien. Yeah. The thing is, there's all this statements about experts here and there, but I can't verify any of this. So I don't know if this is just some kind of ridiculous story that somebody made it sound good. The skull itself looks a little suspiciously too clean and shiny to me, but so anyway, supposedly the skull was found. There's a whole story behind it. It got dug up. Workers were digging out 100-year-old pipes when they found the skull under a building that once belonged to a butcher. Experts at a veterinary college in Copenhagen examined the find, concluded although resembling a mammal, certain features make it impossible to fit an animal into Linnaean taxonomy. The scientists could not link it to any known species. Carbon dating of the skull at Niels Bohr Institute for Sciences determined it was 800 years old. The skull was found in 2007, but was not looked at by scientists until 2010. Further excavation found only animal bones, stone axes, and equipment from the Neolithic period. Nothing else that could be linked to the skull. So I don't know. Is this baloney? I think it's worth keeping an eye on. The story is interestingly specific. Now, they're saying the skull was found on top of the 100-year-old pipes. So if they're trying to make up a baloney story, they would have said it was below the pipes, or they would have, I don't know. That part of the story doesn't make that much sense. So it makes me wonder if it's might actually be real. I really don't know. I just don't know. But anyway, there's the skull. I see that it is presented like you would expect a skull with the mandible separate. It has some of the features here that are new ME features for the human. Under here, these bumps and stuff. I just don't know what to make of it. I mean, in the old timeline, I would have said, well, that's obviously fake. But, a lot of stuff that starts out like this is becoming real. Like when they first found those tiny human skulls and they called them the hobbits, and everybody's like, oh, that's just a malformed human and blah, blah, blah. Well, now they're labeled as a separate species of the human branch. So I don't know. Anyway, so it's the Sealand Skull, Sealand Skull. And oops. Okay, you guys in the UK better be careful with your dogs. Apparently there's this weird disease which causes damage to blood vessels, skin, and kidneys. It sounds like it kind of causes a weird coagulation problem. Unknown cause, unknown vehicle that is disseminating it, unknown the exact locations that give it. It seems to have something to do with swamps. It could kill your dog. It's called Alabama rot. Supposedly there's something similar to it in Alabama, United States. What are the symptoms of Alabama rot? Skin lesions, ulcers, and sores, not caused by any known injury. Appears on legs, bodies, mouth, or tongue. Within days, dogs get symptoms of acute kidney injury. So, I don't know. Keep an eye on if they got a bunch of weird sores for no reason. So, supposedly this showed up in A, which is sort of weird. Next one, Oh, this one. This is a good one. This is a good one. This one was brought up by a commenter named Jet Powered Griffin. I don't know if you guys remember the famous killer whale orca named Keiko was released back into the wild. There was a whole storyline on Keiko. You may have seen it. Well, supposedly there's this thing now that captive orcas get, and it's called a dorsal fin collapse. They're saying it's related to being in captivity. I have never seen a freaking orca with this problem. The dorsal fin just flops over like a limp biscuit. It just goes bloop. I have never seen an image of like this. I've never seen anything like this. Apparently, a whole bunch of the captive ones have this. Here's another one with it. Another one. I have never seen anything like that. There's another one. I just don't think so. No. Have you ever seen anything like that? That's ridiculous. So they're saying it really rarely happens in the wild. Well, I've never seen any orca with this. As you can see, there's quite a lot of images of them. Just weird. Just weird. Look at that. So apparently Keiko had this. I saw lots of images of Keiko. I have never seen with this dorsal fin collapse, but apparently Keiko had it, and this is big controversy now all of a sudden that, you know, having them in the wild is you know, I looked all into this stuff, the Sea World, it's unnatural, blah 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 thing, and this was never mentioned, dorsal fin collapse. It was never mentioned. Now they talked the last, like maybe 4 years ago, I heard about the teeth problems, but they went extensively into this. Not a peep. This is Keiko. She had the dorsal fin collapse. I just don't think so. No. Now I've discussed before about this coloration thing here and here also being new for me. I do not remember this little barbell of white and this shading, the white shading up here. But now we've got the dorsal fin collapse. There's another one. See, look at that. Nope. So Keiko is the she's the orca from Free Willy. All right. Oops. That's just a necklace. But anyways, yeah, no, there was no dorsal fin collapse in my old timeline. That's really, I think, quite new. Free Willy documentary tells what really happened to the Keiko the killer whale. Look at that. Have you ever seen anything like that? I say no. No and no. SeaWorld is one word now, really? SeaWorld. I'll type it in that way. Well, I'll type it in the other way and see what happens. SeaWorld. Oh, yeah, it is one word. Yeah, I agree with you. It was 2 words before. Unless they've made an official change. I'll agree with you that is suspicious. Larry King still in the air or not? You know, I don't even watch that guy, so I can't answer on that one. You know what I remember is Sandusky dying. He was going to go in prison, and then he died right before Sandusky. I remember him biting it, so that was the one I kept waiting for somebody to bring up. I remember him, and I was like, oh, you lucky dog, you died right before you had to go to prison. But now he's getting a resentencing, and he didn't die. Jerry Sandusky will get a new sentence thanks to Supreme Court ruling. That guy died for me, Mr. Sandusky. I just thought it was some kind of weird luck out, cop out thing that he just happened to die right before the whole thing finally came down on him. All right, anyways. All right, this one is kind of an interesting one. This one, I don't know if this is an Emmy in progress. All right, this one was brought up by Bob Bobertson again. He found some info on it. I've been kind of looking into it. Now, we just been talking about these other presidents that were supposedly before Washington have kind of come out of the woodwork, where they're saying that there was presidents of the Continental Congress before the ratification of the new Constitution that we have now. And so they were saying Washington really wasn't the first president because these other ones were presidents also. Well, now we've got this one where there's this rumor that John Hanson, which was supposedly the new first president of the United States under the Articles of Confederation, might have been black. Now, if you look at this image, it's not really clear if he would be black or not in this face. I mean, it is kind of a light-skinned face. That the hair and stuff, it's not really, cut and dried either way. I mean, if I had to guess, I would say he was white. But if somebody told me that guy was black, I'd be like, yeah, okay, whatever. So some places are saying that John Hanson was black. Other places are saying, oh, the photo that you're using to say he's black is actually a photo of some other guy, and that's not him, and that John Hanson wasn't black. So there's some are saying he was kind of changed to look more white. They have a photo of a man that they claim to be him. However, I don't believe these claims, blah, blah. Okay. So there is another photo, but they're saying that it was somebody else. Let's see. See if I can find that photo. And after we had this whole spiel with the Eli Whitney thing, I just think this was kind of interesting. So supposedly now the story is that there was another John Hanson, this guy, that he was from Liberia, and he had some kind of job that was like some kind of politician guy. All right, so Senator Hanson was the white politician from Maryland who served as president of the Continental Congress. And so they're saying that this Senator John Hanson of Liberia is a different guy. Now, it's kind of hard for me to even imagine a black dude being a senator in that era, considering all of the prejudice and slavery things and stuff. But, okay, so, I mean, how close does this guy look to this guy? It's not that much of a stretch that they could be the same guy. If they whitened up this guy, could it be this guy? I don't know. I don't know. So then they're going on to say that This guy's brother supposedly was referred to as a freeman, and a freeman was often a term used to describe freed slaves. And then other people are saying no, because at that time, freeman also could mean that you were like freed from, you were of your own free will, instead of being like indentured from Europe. So if his brother was referred to as a freeman, it did not mean that his brother was black. Now, there's not really any photos going that far back, so one of their arguments now is that this photo they didn't have photos way back during the Continental Congress, so that this photo couldn't be him, which that is a good argument. However, maybe when he was much older, I don't know. And, of course, we've got the thing with the tech going back in time. So photos may not go back that far right now, but will they go back that far later? I don't know. So let's see, what other... So they're talking about the meaning of freeman. There's another... I guess there's some kind of a drawing that goes around that shows some black people in the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So they're using that as an argument that there was a black dude there. And so the story that some are saying is that it was another whitewashing of history. I don't know. I don't think the evidence is super strong that John Hanson was black right now. But I just think this is really interesting, because we've seen what happened with Eli Whitney. And then suddenly there's this big spiel about these newer presidents, the earlier presidents. And then suddenly already there's this story that one of them was black. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to come to all that spiel, but I just thought it was really interesting. And I think that's it. Girardelli. Yep. Okay. It only took me 2 hours and 10 minutes this time. I'm hearing Civil War was a hoax. I don't know. I mean, like, these stories, are they just going to get weirder and weirder? So, pretty soon we won't believe anything. I mean, I don't know. Just took a 7-year vacation in California and spent the whole time on the beach. Oh, you want to hang out on the beach when it's 40 degrees? Have fun. It does get below freezing around here, although usually not right on the beach. But it can get pretty chilly. Electricity first discovered around 1600 now. Upside down rainbows. That one I covered quite some time ago. Ice fog still freaks me out. Yep, we covered that one. Well, it snowed. We had thunder and lightning. Yeah, thunder snow. That one's been around for a bit, like at least a year. Eli Whitney was black. I'm pretty sure that was true for me, but I can't say it was like for sure for me, but I do remember that. Is it right that Southern California is warm all year round? I would not say that it is warm all year round. It just doesn't get freaking cold like the East Coast. But, I mean, it does occasionally dip under freezing a tad. On some nights, and it can definitely be cold if you don't have coats on in the winter. Now, last winter was really warm, but this is the winters I'm used to. Cold, it's cold. I mean, I'm not going to die, but I mean, if you came over from the UK and you came over here, and then you wouldn't feel it was that different, because it's sort of like UK weather, except for less water. That's in the winter. Now in the summer, yeah, it's nice and warm. And then a big chunk of spring, and then a big chunk of fall. It can be quite warm, at least comfortable, or too freaking hot, Take your pick. How many timelines are in this thread? Who knows how many timelines? Who knows how many timelines there are? Mr. Madaza, ice quakes. You got to look at the frost quakes. Do a Google on it. We've already covered it quite a bit. Someday we wake up as Oompa Loompas in Wonka's chocolate factory. Pretty sure there was an ME about what the Oompa Loompas say. Oompa Loompa something. I think that changed. Oompa Loompa. Pretty sure there was an Oompa Loompa. Oompa Mandela. Yeah, okay. Do you remember Oompa Loompa or Oompa Loompa? Google Oompa Loompa. That's what I remember. I remember Oompa Loompa, actually. I just remember there was one. I'm not sure on that one, though. But I remember Oompa Loompa. I thought it was like Florida, temperate all year round. The north end of California can get snow and stuff, although not too often. And the south end is fairly temperate. They say we're subtropical. We're not tropical. So subtropical can dip under freezing. I mean, you're not going to die or anything, but you will definitely want to have your coat and some good socks on. Florida, I'm not an expert on Florida, but some regions of Florida can also dip under freezing. They're warmer than we are, but when that happens, they have damages to their orange crops and stuff. So, yeah. I kind of had been under the impression that Florida was warmer than that, but for quite some time, they do get frost over there. This is a funny one. I gained like 25 pounds. Used to be like 170 pounds. Well, hopefully it wasn't overnight. That would not be a very favorite ME for me. Need inputs out? Yeah, I'm almost heading out now. I'm done. My guinea pig is hungry. All right, I think it's time for me to go too. All right. Yep, it is time. I'm going to get up early. Got some stuff to do in the morning. I'm going to be all crabby because I'll be so sleepy. All right, let's bring up YouTube here. Somehow I lost it on here. Actually, I think I can do it from this computer instead. If it'll scroll. You can do it. All right. So this is Eva signing off for Once Upon a Timeline.